Yeah, you figure that one out. Now, let's see what our next guest thinks about that. Milo Yiannopoulos is a political commentator and celebrity and author. He's a former senior editor at Breitbart News. He's the author of the bestseller Dangerous. And you should check out his new radio show, The Milo Show, which debuted this week. You can link to it at dangerous.com, The Milo Show at dangerous.com. Milo, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me back. How are you?
Well, I'm good. So there's a bunch of stuff to talk to you about that I'm sure you have trenchant opinions on. But what do you what do you make of the memo and the skullduggery at the FBI and the DOJ?
I like two things most in this life, and it's one of them is Trump gloating, and the other is the left squirming. And today we get to enjoy both of them. Sometimes they don't always coincide, and today they do. I think, I spoke to my friend Roger Stone, who said that if this memo has everything in it that we think it does, this is the biggest political scandal in the nation's history. I think it remains to be seen if that's true or not, but it is now incontrovertibly true that Trump has been militated against by, various branches of the federal government, including the intelligence agencies. And what this does is yet again prove, once again, it keeps happening, things that conservatives and Republicans are initially laughed at for raising and initially sniggered at by ABC and NBC and CBS, once again turns out true. It's this phrase, the deep state, which has been scoffed at by CNN hosts, turns out 100% accurate. That's exactly what was happening. Obama appears to be up to his neck in it. They just weren't expecting Trump to win at all, and to see them scramble and panic and throw everything they have at him after the fact, having never expected him to be sitting where he is today, it's just a beautiful, delightful sight. However, it ends up playing out.
Milo, I'm sure people can tell that deep back in your far background, before you got an area code 310 phone number, you are a Brit, and so
yes,
your perspective on the Brit spy Christopher Steele admitting to the DOJ person Bruce Orr that he was, quote, and I'm quoting now, desperate that Donald Trump not get elected and was passionate about him not being president. I'm sure this rang somewhat true to you, remembering back to your homeland.
Absolutely. Americans have a high degree of tolerance for eccentrics, which is why we send you so many of ours, because Britain really doesn't. It's one of the reasons I'm in America. Brits don't like confident, boisterous, brash, loud, self-aggrandizing people, which is one reason I didn't stay there and one reason they hate Trump. Trump is sort of his existence, just the concept of Trump, just the sight of the man, is anathema to every imaginable British value of sophistication and etiquette and lightness of touch. Brits just recoil in horror at the guy, and it is just snobbery. It's just taste and snobbery. It's not really to do with any values per se. He represents everything that Brits think is gauche and brash and unattractive and unnecessarily blunt about the United States. And so I can well imagine a British spy, and remember that British spies are drawn from the ranks of Oxford and Cambridge graduates. They're not, they're gentlemen. They're drawn from the ranks of the lower aristocracy, and they're bred for sophisticated Whitehall afternoon teas. The James Bond stereotype is not that far off how the intelligence services in Britain really operate. The idea of someone like Donald Trump ascending to the presidency would have been absolutely unutterable to the sort of snobbish upper-class Brit who runs the intelligence agencies. So it doesn't surprise me at all that this guy considers Donald Trump to be, something like an apocalypse.
Well, and then if you wanted to dig up dirt in Russia about Donald Trump, you might think the best place to go was to find a MI6 spy and set him to work.
Well, no offense to your listeners, but British intelligence remains the best in the world. There's a reason that James Bond is an iconic and internationally famous and loved icon of, espionage. There's no real equivalent anywhere else. You've tried it with Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, but it didn't really work. The idea that
don't forget Kingsman.
Well, yeah, I don't like those movies. It's saturated with social justice and left-wing virtue signaling. But yes, that is another example of the sort of romantic idea of the British intelligence agencies. But British intelligence, remains the preeminent intelligence in the world, and of course they have all the goods on everyone. They know everything about everybody. So if you want to know something about somebody like Trump, I guess your first call would be MI5 or MI6.
So can I, because we only have, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes with you, and I'm sure you have something to say about this too. Move back in the week before Memo Day, the State of the Union and the sight of Democrats being offered more than they wanted on immigration and playing grumpy cat and sitting on their hands and refusing to take more than they asked for in the first place.
Well, for me, I think the two iconic images of the State of the Union were Nancy Pelosi and the Congressional Black Caucus. And if I'd been in charge of the broadcast, I would have presented it in Pelosi vision and focused exclusively on her and on the Black Caucus, because to see Democrats refusing to applaud the achievements of somebody that, yeah, sure, he's not your choice of president, but, for the Congressional Black Caucus to refuse to acknowledge, even in their facial gestures, let alone an applause or a standing ovation, that, black unemployment is at the lowest levels ever recorded, I think tells America everything they need to know about the Democrat Party. The visuals of it were awful. And this was bad strategy. And this, Republicans have typically been bad at this, moaning about left-wing influence on sports tournaments and all the rest of it. But you see, the tide has changed. Now the NFL is getting into trouble with Republicans. Now it is Democrats making themselves look stupid at the State of the Union. Why? Because I think the public's starting to cotton on that many Democrats don't actually like America very much. They don't like the principles on which America was founded. They don't like ordinary Americans very much. And Donald Trump is a sort of symbol of that. They can't even bring themselves to applaud the good things he's doing. They can't even bring themselves to accept, as you say, an over-generous offer. And those sour faces that, the sight of Nancy Pelosi chewing a wasp on television while she's actually getting everything she's asked for, I think it was just bad optics. I think it was bad strategy. I think the Democrats were deeply, deeply stupid on that day when most people who aren't really into politics tune in anyway just to see what the president's up to and what the president is saying. I don't think it reflected well on them at all.
Milo, I must say, I've never heard the expression chewing a wasp.
Well, isn't that what she looked like she was doing?
Yeah, it did. Absolutely.
You have to bite your cheek to stop yourself from grimacing or laughing out loud or crying, You just sort of like, it's like chewing a wasp,
Milo Yiannopoulos, it's always great to talk to you. I urge everyone to listen to Milo's show. It is the Milo Show. It debuts this week. You link to it by going to dangerous.com, and there's a link to listen to the Milo Show. Be sure to check out his book. The book is Dangerous, which you can find at Amazon, of course, and make Jeff Bezos rich as well as Milo. And, of course, Milo was a former senior editor of Breitbart News. Milo, thank you very much for your time. It's great to talk to you.
Very generous of you. Thanks, man.
All right. Thank you. So, Angry Rich, good work.